This story is supported by the Public Welfare Foundation, committed to advancing a transformative approach to justice that is community-led, restorative, and racially just. Learn more at publicwelfare.org.
What I really love about stickball is the community. I love the physical part of it, I love the mental aspect, but the main part that I love overall is I feel like I'm reclaiming my ancestral rights. I'm taking back all the things that were colonized out of our ways.
Stickball is a cultural tradition. It's regularly played across the Cherokee Nation. The sport traditionally served as a judicial or diplomatic function to help settle disputes before leading to war. And today, stickball is still being used to address justice issues. The traditional game is used in the tribe's diversionary program, the Cherokee Nation Juvenile Healing to Wellness Court. The program's designed to help keep young Cherokee people out of the justice system, and cultural activities like stickball play a large part.
We talk to these juveniles, these young gentlemen, and we see what's going on in their life, how can we help out, what are ways that they're trying to help themselves that they might need some pointers on. Because a lot of us, we've been through a lot of the things that they're going through, and it helps them find a way to let things out. It lets them come out and have something proactive to do, and it's like a reward in a lot of senses for them to come out and be able to play this. And I always hit on, it's them reclaiming their rights.
Okay guys, for this game, no tackling. Yeah, no tackling guys, no swinging your sticks. I got hit in the shin too many times in this game.
No.
They see how we uphold ourselves. You know, we hold ourselves to a certain standard when we're with these youth. You know, they don't see us in a bad light. You know, we try to provide that positive reinforcement for them. But the importance for culture for them, you know, is they're reclaiming what's theirs. You know, all we're doing is we're just helping. We're trying to help, you know, spark that idea with them, spark that interest, and hopefully they move on with it and carry it with them.
Stickball helps participants deal with aggression, learn how to solve problems. And it's not just for young men, young women play in social games, which captains say help the young men learn how to treat women.
The men's will be the ones using 2 sticks, and the women's are basically use their hands and pretty much have free range to do whatever they want to out there. I actually just got done with a demonstration yesterday at Little Kansas School, and those girls, you know, got pretty rough with them guys. And it usually happens like that any kind of grounds you go to. Brings back my first time playing ball was at a community grounds, and I didn't know what I was doing out there, and I just so happened to get the ball, and I think it was a 45-year-old lady just came and just lit me up. So, you know, it's always a good time playing with the community right there. But for the scoring, some grounds kind of hold it a little different. Usually there's more points given if you hit the top effigy at the top of the pole. It can be a ball at some areas, it can be a fish at some areas too, but usually, you know, that's the one you're trying to hit right there is the ball. You are awarded some points too. It's kind of marked down the pole a little bit and kind of based on different grounds decision on, you know, where that little 1-pointer is right there.
It's the men's game that disputes were traditionally settled, but today the game can still get a little rough.
So I'm gonna give you all a little game plan before we get out there. So this man right here.
For scoring in that game though, That's dependent on the driver whenever they start the game. So the drivers will meet in the center of the field and kind of go over the rules of the game. And they talk about scoring. There's two ways to score. You can either run it between the two saplings, or you can have to run it through the saplings and then come back onto the field to score. So there are a couple of different ways, and they just talk about that before the game to set that up for the rules before everybody steps on the field.
Incorporating Cherokee culture is an essential part of the Healing to Wellness Court.
So many of the youth that have come into our program really have not been raised in a traditional manner and don't really understand a lot about their culture. Some did, but a majority of them did not. And we've actually been able to introduce them to their culture and help them learn more about their history, their people's history, and traditional ways of, being part of a community in a healthy manner. Living amongst one another in a healthy manner, helping each other. And so it has been absolutely integral to this program, the cultural aspects. And it really is a piece of everything that we do in this program. Even though we do have cultural programming, like they may go out and play stickball or marbles, or, have cultural arts like making baskets and things like that. It really touches everything that we do in this program.
The Cherokee Nation Healing to Wellness Court was started in 2021 with assistance from grant funding. The first referrals were taken in 2023, and in the spring of 2024, the program saw its first graduate. It's a voluntary phased program lasting a minimum of 8 months. Participants also go to counseling services, family sign agreements to all work together in the program. And participants have 1 to 2 visits a week with a program coordinator. The youth are required to go to school, do community service, and take part in educational programming.
One thing that I have enjoyed the most about the program is the focus on relationships and community. The issue of substance use in our community isn't just a one generational issue that we have to tackle, that it's a multi-generational issue. And so when I say community, I mean different types of communities. I mean our familial community, our reservation community, our Cherokee Nation community as a whole, and that what I feel is important about this program is that we know that it takes a community of people to help our children, and that we are working with children, not adults.
The focus is on young people 12 to 18 for nonviolent offenses. Often it's substance use. Young people are referred by schools, law enforcement, or the Indian Child Welfare Office. The program instills that they're valued members of the community.
We had a kid that he's a little bit harder, and he wrote a letter, an apology letter to our court, to everybody apologizing for some of his behavior. And one of the things that he said in there was that he hasn't been in a setting in a long time where people said nice things to him. He's always been looked at as a bad kid and kind of essentially in his mind harassed kind of by law enforcement. And so one thing he said is that he had hope. He had hope that that we wanted good for him. And he said, I'm sorry, I understand now what you were doing. Like, you didn't want bad for me, you just want good for me, and that's why you're doing these things. Sometimes they see a judge, they see a prosecutor, they see a director, they see all these people, and they think that their intentions is just to detain him and put him away, they're bad kids. But when they get to see in our court team and everybody weigh in and say good, positive things about them too, they have hope in us. And then you kind of see a little bit more shift that they buy into themselves. Like, I feel like that's one of the biggest parts of letting them know that they're valued, they're important. And I tell them all the time, like, they have to be a learner. They have to open their ears and their minds to everything we're talking about, and we will do the same. We are going to learn from them just like they're going to learn from us, and we do.
The hands-on, more personal approach the Healing to Wellness Court takes with each participant includes working with probation officers and the Cherokee Nation Marshal Service. The Marshal Service is the law enforcement branch of the Cherokee Nation, covering 7,000 square miles in 14 counties.
Tribal issues and tribal governments, tribal communities has historically been more holistic than our non-tribal counterparts. So what I see in tribal nations, and I think it's a plus positive, is we don't silo our individual departments. It's more of a group effort, a tribal effort. We're all one people here. We're all related. It is one of my goals that I gave the Justice Services Department, that do whatever you need to do to make sure me and my marshals don't have to deal with them as an adult. That means give good, positive training, support, whatever we need early on, and hopefully we can change their trajectory and where they might be. That is paramount for juvenile justice, in my opinion. It should never be to punish the juvenile. That shouldn't be our primary goal in the juvenile criminal justice. It should be to rehab, train, support, and defend these juveniles so they grow into be productive citizens in our community. That should always be the goal.
The Healing to Wellness Court team has the support of the Cherokee Nation's top leader.
This is an opportunity to do what we want to do across our justice system, which is to really reimagine it and create a system that is, I think, the best in the country. So in this case, we take young people who are interacting with law enforcement because of drug issues, use issues, possession issues, and rather than put them through the often heartless criminal justice system that we see in a lot of parts of this country, do something that lifts them up, makes them feel like they're the center of something that isn't a condemnation, but is something that really wraps them in sort of a blanket of love and compassion. Certainly they need to be responsible, and there's an element of being responsible, but there's, I think more importantly, a path that's diverted out of the traditional law and punishment aspect of the criminal justice system. And I think that's why it's been successful so far.
As a sovereign tribal nation, having jurisdiction over Cherokee people within the Cherokee Nation is of great significance to the tribe.
Having our council pass laws and implemented by the administration, and then those laws interpreted by your own court, and having that personalization and that community of knowing if an issue arises, whether criminal or civil, you can come to your own people. It gives our entire community faith in that system. There's been a lot of historical trauma dealt by court systems, mainly state court systems.
In the wake of the 2020 landmark U.S. Supreme Court McGirt ruling and subsequent Hogner decision, finding its reservation had never been disestablished and that the state of Oklahoma had been improperly prosecuting cases outside of its jurisdiction for more than a century, the Cherokee Nation has had an opportunity to reimagine its justice system.
Our federal court systems have been fairly on track when it comes to federal opinions on Indian law, but having, and what we've seen since McGirt, having our defendants, having their tribe talk to them and deal with them, and coming up with different ways to help them move forward productively in life, they've been much more receptive at that than having a system that they didn't ever feel like was theirs. This past year, we filed 6,990, and about 4,000 of those were criminal cases. A couple more thousand were traffic-related cases. So in the span of 1 year, we had more than a 500% increase. We've increased to five judges, 4 full-time, 1 part-time at this point.
There's a tremendous amount of responsibilities and a great deal of opportunity to reimagine what a justice system could be. It takes, though, a special touch. It takes multidisciplinary approach, not just judges and not just prosecutors, but many other people who can provide that sort of support. And so I think diverting kids and getting them onto a path of wellness and healing is what it's all about.
The fact that we have the ability to govern whenever our young person has a situation where they break the law, that it's the nation that has the opportunity to decide what's going to happen to that young person. That's something that may not have been possible if they were prosecuted in the state court. With Healing and Wellness, we meet twice a month in the evenings usually. It's usually after our delinquent court. It's more of a relaxed setting than a traditional court proceeding is. We typically talk about the juveniles' progress in their journey with their addiction, whether it be alcohol, drugs, whether it's prescription drugs or street drugs. And healing to wellness is more of a hands-on and more personal, I think, than the traditional delinquent court route.
Additional team members of the Healing to Wellness Court helping guide young people are from the tribe's Attorney General's office and behavioral health care.
Most of the juveniles that we work with haven't had much involvement. We're catching them right at the beginning of some of their delinquent behavior. So we will divert them over to our Healing to Wellness Court and have them work that program. It is voluntary, they do not have to do that, but having them give us the yes, I want to seems to be a good motivating factor for them to do well, and we see a lot of success. So it's really a great program that I'm so glad that we have.
Some of the issues they're working to combat among young people are the use of marijuana, methamphetamines, alcohol, and theft.
So the juvenile justice system focuses on rehabilitation. So the second that we get a police report, we look at how serious is this offense, and then we invite the family in to do an intake. From that intake, our juvenile justice department learns the family history, what services have been provided to the child, if any at all, and then what the child is exposed to within their family unit. From there, we staff and we determine if we should file a case, if it's maybe a case that's great for Healing to Wellness. So lots of work gets put into what crime did they commit and how serious is it and what should we do. When we have really serious crimes, those kids sometimes have to be certified as an adult, depending again how serious it is, or a youthful offender status, which is probably far beyond a Healing to Wellness avenue. But if a juvenile is just getting into experimenting with drugs and having some minor crimes that aren't violent, it's the perfect type of kiddo that we want to work with and try to influence so that they can lead a successful life, clean of drugs and crime-free.
We want them to just live their lives fully. We want them to be better, productive members of society that are capable of reaching whatever their hearts desire in a positive and healthy way. A lot of times I'm asked, especially in my role, you get paid or you're this, and I tell people, I do have a vested interest in helping children, youth, and families, because some days these kiddos will hopefully be adults. They don't need to be incarcerated. They don't need to be still involved with the system. I think people can and do recover. And, I'm a big fan of, living life to your full potential, being the best you that you can be, which even with my children, I'm saying, I tell them, because they're biracial, the best way to honor those people that have come before you is be the best you that you can be. And, some of our youth, I don't think understand that just yet, but that's my goal for them, is they live life more fully and become the best version of them possible.
One of the top motivating factors of young people in the program to stay on track has been the focus on Cherokee culture.
We do introduce them to what being Cherokee is about, and that includes cultural activities, stickball, making baskets, a lot of our history and how resilient our tribe has been, and the children thrive on that. They enjoy learning about that history and then being involved, and we see a lot of passion and interest that comes out of them.
And then we also do examples of our first fabrics. This is called twining, and it's just twisting cords around these cords.
The work that we do with youth is to try to help them understand that they come from a culture that's not just that tiny nucleus that you're around all the time, but that Cherokee is a family, it's a community. And we help them connect to that identity through those traditional art forms. They get to practice in the art center, and then we also take them out into communities and do yard work and play stickball. We try to get them to understand that they are a part of the community. Some of the art classes will be primitive pottery, basket weaving, twining. They've taken copper and hammered it into jewelry. Learned how to identify plants, what those plants were used for, and made fibers from them to make cords to hang their artwork from. And we also showed them how to identify plants that are growing around us that the Europeans call weeds, that are actually nutritious and medicinal. Most of the youth and adults that we get today are disconnected from their community, not by their own choice, but the federal government down through the years, generation to generation, has intentionally separated us from our traditional ways, from our medicine, from our spirituality, from our art form. And so most of the ones that we get are eager to reconnect. Perhaps the greatest thing that one notices when helping people reconnect to that community, that sense of community, is that the first time they step in, they don't want to do anything, but then they eagerly come back. And the next time they want to collaborate on a project, to be part of the community. So the things that they learn about Cherokee culture, and what I hope we all can learn, is those things are applied to every aspect of our life. Those connections make us who we are.
Participants of the program and their parents say it's working.
It's pretty helpful in them encouraging you to stay sober and work on your mental health, to where when you graduate out of the program, you can continue to stay sober and live a healthy life versus an addicting and painful life. I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was mentally, and that all I gotta do is try and I'll make it.
They called and got us into the program and got us talking to all the right people and going in the right direction to keep him from continuing down that path. As a parent, it's hard for you to deal with teenage kids because there's only so much you can do, and the kids know that. So without a support system behind you, it's hard to get them to do the things they should do. Leah and them give them the support system, and not only the kids, but the adults, so they can get into the programs and do the things that they need to do to move forward.
The people in it are pretty nice. Just like stickball, it gives you people to talk to about these sort of things. They take us to do a lot of things that also are good for the community and us. Take us clean up, stomping grounds and stuff like that, and then we learn about it and everything too. They take us to the Spider Gallery, teach us how to do Cherokee art, take us here and teach us how to play stickball. It's helping us connect with our culture and to help us quit the bad habits that we have. It gave me, I guess, accountability for what I've done, and helped me to understand the stuff that I was doing was not smart, and that there's other things that I can spend my time doing and focus on.
Learning more about Cherokee culture has helped young people stay on a healthy life track, and especially the favorite among participants is stickball.
I knew like a blanket of everything. I knew just the art, what it is, certain things that they do, the dances, the stuff that they do there, because I went to them when I was a kid playing, but I never really got the in-depth, and that's what I learned here. Learned how to do it. I learned how to do the dances, why they do the dances. I learned how to play this version, why they did this. So I learned how to do all of it and why. Stickball is really fun. The program, it helps a lot. It really does. And it's a really good sport. It's really good medicine. I believe that if anybody in the community has somebody that is down and needs help, they should come take them out, take them to this game. It's really good, really beneficial.
Majority of our kids, I'll tell you, they're big leaders. I mean, they have energy and things about them that people are drawn to them. And so I tell them, like, they have so many big, like, there's so many assets, there's so many good things about them. We just got to tweak a few things to get them back on track. So letting them know that they're valued. Also, I say this a lot to them, is that I do want them, like, they set out goals and objectives for themselves in their treatment, and we have them come in and do that because it's their life. And so one of our goals is that we let the community and everybody start to see them through our eyes, so that they know that that's how we see them. They're kids and they're important and we care about them. And one thing that we preach to them a lot in this court is that our care and concern for them is unconditional. It will never go away, and that's what adults do when they care for kids. They care for them unconditionally.
This story is supported by the Public Welfare Foundation, committed to advancing a transformative approach to justice that is community-led, restorative, and racially just. Learn more at publicwelfare.org.
Take no breaks. Every game I'm never going in my aim.